what we have here is my car exhaust. It's an Acura TL Type S, so we have the quad exhaust. I have 4 of these easy intake bladders, but as you can see, this one is kind of inflated all awkwardly. One actually popped and I replaced the bladder, but they all 4 of them have this awkward shape to them. So I'm gonna see if they're still usable. Nonetheless, I'm still gonna reach out to Redline. I'll probably end up sending them back so they can try to replace them, just to see if they're just there's something defective about how they're inflated. I'm not sure, but I'm just gonna test the operation of them. Since buying them, I haven't had 4 of them because one popped. So I just got the replacement rubber bladder, slipped it on there, and I'm gonna try to put it in the exhaust. I have 3 of them installed already. So as you can see over there, one of them is open. So I'm gonna bring this over here, show you how I do it. So I'm just gonna deflate this. While that's deflating, so all I did was insert it, ensure this was screwed in, and pumped it up, right? And then you have the smoke hose right here. On all 3 of them, the remaining 3, I just used these little clamps and clamped it off close. I didn't want to clamp it down here because that's just a waste of smoke filling up this tube for no reason. So I clamped it off closer to where the unit is. So this one, I'm just gonna insert it in the exhaust. Obviously this is a rubber, so you got to make sure your exhaust is cold before you do it. You don't want to do it on a hot exhaust. Obviously they sell the cones that you can use to just push it in there, but I noticed the cones were like rubbing off my whatever the interior color, the black, so I didn't like that. So put this in there as far as it will go, and then I'll just pump it up. Close this little bladder here, pump it up until the ball becomes somewhat stiff in my hand. There we go. That's good. So now I have 4 of them all blocked off. I got over there and over here, you can see they're all clamped off. And I'll just make sure they're good. Squeeze them a little bit, make sure they're fully. You can see that one is slightly bulging. And they're all bulging just because the angle of the exhaust, I think. So now I have, this is the only, let me see if I can set this camera up. Now this is the only hose that's that will allow smoke to go in there. So here's the tip of my smoke hose, and all I'm gonna do is insert it in here. But first I'm gonna turn the unit on and make sure it starts smoking before I insert it. So I'll just leave that hanging out there. So as you can see, this got to the back of the car, and that's because I bought a second 10-foot piece and just mated it up to the original piece on the car. So all I did was just slide it in the open end here. So it goes to the back of the car. Got my little accessory kit right there. I got it all hooked up for the most part. It's hanging on the hood of the car, the Smoke Pro Total Tech. I got it hooked up to my airline here. I believe the compressor is reading, I got it set to about 85 PSI. And I just want to test it. I had my catalytic converter, the sleeve right there. It's not hot, so I can touch it. This sleeve right here at the bottom end of it was like pressed in between the maiden surface. And the first time I got this and I tried it to smoke my exhaust, it identified that for me. So that was pretty cool. So I'll just undo this battery cover right here, because I mean, if you're unfamiliar with this thing, it hooks up to your 12-volt battery. So we'll just pop this thing off. go set this over here. Pop our lid up, and we'll just connect the battery. There's 2 connectors. Make sure that we're not touching where we're not supposed to be touching. The camera might be a little bit wonky while I do this. Connected. And we're connected. And as soon as we're connected and it's good, green light turns on. That's closed. Make sure your thing here is closed, less you can hear the air escaping, right? And the ball, you can see the ball went straight to the top. That means that's a large leak, right? You can see the ball. You'll see it drop once I start closing off the air. There you go. There's the ball. So that's just the air compressor leaking air out. So we'll close it. The ball is at the bottom. That means there's no leak. This is a pretty cool machine. The gauge was slightly off when I got it, and I got a replacement gauge. So this gauge is off slightly to the right. The replacement gauge I got is now slightly off to the left, so whatever. I'm not gonna replace it. So we'll press this here. Red light comes on. That means it's starting. It should start producing smoke. And all I want to do is test the exhaust and see the back. Really, I'm just trying to see if those cones work. So we'll run to the back, and while I'm at this unit does say, you can see it, free bottle of smoke producing fluid, which is a $19 value. Valid only in the US. Kinda, you can see it up there when you register your smoke machine at Redline. So I mean that's still smoking, but I was still able to register my smoke machine at Redline, and they gave me a unit. So this is actually the original unit that came with the machine, and I do have an extra bottle that I got from them just by registering. And apparently this thing lasts for like over 500 or something. It doesn't take much to start smoking. So I do have an extra one of these, but anyway, let's go see if this thing is starting to smoke. And it's not. I think I just gotta get it. I might have that thing backwards as far as the air's leaking. I think this is how. I think you gotta have it. Yeah, you gotta have the air right going. So yeah, obviously that was my bad. Get the flow going. I think you can keep turning this thing. I'm not sure how much you can turn it before it like falls out. But the ball is all the way at the top, as you can see right there, behind the right end. And so it should be producing smoke. You can see, I can actually smell stuff out there, and you can see the gauge, the needle has changed directions. There we go. So we'll go out there and see. All right, can't really see it. You can see slightly, right? There we go. So it's definitely producing smoke. And we'll prop this up. And we'll just insert it. You can see it. We'll just push it in here. And we'll just see how much of these bladders are actually leaking. We'll just let the smoke dissipate, and we'll see how much smoke is leaking out. So we'll give it a minute for it to fill up the exhaust system. We'll go back to the front here. Car is dirty. So this thing runs for like 5 minutes or something. So I think it's still filling up. You can see the gauge right there fluctuating. But I'm hoping that ball will drop. It's kind of hard when you do it and smoke has already filled up the garage to a certain extent. Because then you can't really tell. I mean, obviously I gotta look under the car for smoke and stuff, but primarily I want to see if it's like leaking out the back. We'll kind of go to the back here and see. And yeah, this is why I can tell it. So right here, this thing is not completely crimped off. It's still leaking out. So it's not leaking out through the bladder. It's not leaking out through the bladder. It's actually leaking out. Well, it was leaking out through the other one. So it's not leaking out through the bladder on these at all. So right here is our culprit. Right here is our culprit. So we'll try to clamp this better. Still leaking a little bit. I need some smaller clamps to clamp this. Hold on, I can probably find something. All right, so being that this thing is leaking, what I'm gonna try to do is I'm gonna try to use some adjustable wrenches to clamp this more. There we go. So we'll put a couple adjustable wrenches on them. Obviously you want to clamp them as low as possible so they don't like bear the weight on them.
What are you doing? I told you you smoke.
So hopefully that is helping to clamp them off properly. So I don't think they're leaking smoke at this point, just based on the fact that I've used the clamp up there, but the clamps aren't clamping that hard, and I've used these to block them off. So let's see the gauge up front. I'm hoping this gauge has fallen, and it hasn't really fallen. So we'll open the gauge again. And we'll hit the power, and we can see if it starts smoking again. But basically what this would indicate is there's a large leak in the system, which I'm not prepared to track down. I mean, it could be a leak at any of the connection points, really. But we'll try to see if the system will fill up. It's not leaking there. And I don't really see smoke right here. I don't really see smoke right here. Try to make sure these stay inflated. All right. Make sure these are all inflated. I don't really see smoke. Obviously, it's light out. I'd have to do this in the dark to see the smoke pouring out if it was, but I don't really see anything. Yeah, like I said, you want to do this in the dark, not in the broad daylight. I mean, I don't really see any obvious smoke bellowing out. There's like a small hissing sound coming from right here. We got some light. We can look down there and see if we see anything, but pretty sure that indicates a large leak in the exhaust system. So I don't think the exhaust system is, completely sealed, but I'm wondering if it's any of these connection points. It's obviously producing smoke. It's just, where's that smoke going? Like I said, I haven't looked under the car yet, just because I don't suspect that I need to. I mean, I could, but that's not the intention of what I was trying to do.